right, welcome to the Gentlemen's Club. This is going to be our first conversation ever on the Gentlemen's Club. Quite a few of us has been very excited about this, and tonight we're going to talk about JFK. We have Nate and we have Nutty, and we're going to go into a couple things with the JFK talk, which we're just going to go ahead and kick it off and let Nutty take it. If you want to go ahead and start the topic.
So, the official story of the John F. Kennedy assassination was that he came to Dallas, Texas on November 22nd, 1963, and was assassinated by Lee Harvey Oswald with a 6.5 millimeter Carcano rifle, firing 3 shots in 8.5 seconds. We're going to talk about it today.
I think we're going to go into some of the key factors, like let's talk about speculations, who all was involved in this, and what's your thoughts about it really? Like, what is your thoughts as far as what you think happened in your mind?
Well, I don't think that the official story is the real one. There's no, nothing lines up the way it's supposed to. There's a lot of inconsistencies with all the stories that go along with it. I don't believe that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone if he was the one that shot the president. There was a lot of reasons that people wanted John F. Kennedy dead. He wanted to shut down the Federal Reserve and back our currency with silver instead of just printing it out of thin air. He denied air support to the Central Intelligence Agency during the Bay of Pigs, and they felt like he abandoned them. He wanted to shut down the Central Intelligence Agency altogether. If he wouldn't have been assassinated, Vietnam wouldn't have happened at all.
Well, first off, I 100% agree that I don't believe the official story. I honestly don't know which theory would be the correct one. I've done a lot of research. I've watched a lot of videos. I've done a lot of internet research surrounding all the inconsistencies, all the different reports, all the different eyewitness accounts. I definitely think that there was more to it than just Lee Harvey Oswald acting alone. But I have no idea what the real story is. There's so many different versions of the events that happened, but in my opinion, there's no way that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone. I definitely think the federal government had something to do with it, if not an individual branch of the government, such as the CIA. There have also been allegations that the CIA worked in conjunction with the mafia to, set the whole assassination up. But I'm not 100% sold on the fact that Oswald had anything to do with it. I think he could potentially have had something to do with it. I also think it's plausible that he had zero to do with it, and they just picked him based off of his background with defecting to Russia, and used that as an excuse to set him up as the patsy for the whole thing.
Well, I truly believe that he was a patsy. They did a gunshot residue test, a liquid paraffin test, and his cheek had no gunshot residue whatsoever. So they said that there was no proof that he ever fired a rifle.
Right.
Huh.
Not to mention the fact that the entire time he was in custody, he was never allowed to speak to an attorney. He was paraded out at something like, 11 o'clock at night to talk to the press. And the whole time he was talking to the press, he denied knowing anything about any of the events that happened. Not to say that people don't lie when they've been caught doing something, but based on the video of the events, I kind of get the idea that maybe he didn't really understand what was going on.
I fully believe that. Just with the no gunshot residue, that throws it up in the air, because when a gun goes off, you're going to get it on you. There's no doubt about it.
There's no way around it.
No, and I think that he was definitely put in a position where he was taking the fall for somebody.
I agree.
And they used old Jack Ruby to be the cleanup man. He killed him 2 days later.
I think it's crazy.
He was the one with mafia ties.
That's kind of convenient that somebody who was an alleged assassin of a U.S. president was killed in custody before he was even allowed to stand trial. To me, that raises questions, because if let's say that you have a position of power in the U.S. government and you feel the need to assassinate somebody, so what's the easiest way to get away with it? You pin it on somebody else, and then you kill that person before they get a chance to talk.
Tying up loose ends.
It's too convenient for me.
Exactly. Yeah. It's kind of funny how that people that were connected with this, ended up being killed as well.
Well,
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
They said that 103 witnesses they all died of mysterious causes within, I think it was 7 years of the assassination itself.
Yeah,
And
it's crazy, right?
The coincidences are ridiculous.
Yeah, I didn't, and the funny thing is too is, we talk about the declassification of things now, and the new technology that we have to be able to see the gunshot from different angles and stuff like that they have out there able to look at. What is your thoughts as far as maybe where the gunshot came from, if it was inside the car as well? They also talked about how the bullet had tumbled into the gentleman in front of him.
Governor Connolly.
So, based off of all that, what would you think?
You're talking about the magic bullet?
The magic bullet tumble, yes.
So, I completely understand the concept of someone getting shot and bullets hitting bones and ricocheting.
Yeah.
But
one's not going to turn back.
But for the amount of ricochets and the amount of bones and the destruction that it caused within JFK's body, then for it to exit and enter into another person, the amount, just the different trajectories that it would have had to have taken, and then also the speed that it would have had to keep in order to do damage to another person after exiting JFK's body, I don't find it plausible.
Well, what was the gun platform? That
It was a 6.5 millimeter Carcano rifle.
okay. So, with that weapon, have they said that it's possible that it has a good, how to put it, like a good velocity to travel through somebody's body into another body. And they also, I think, have tested it with ballistic gel, showing you where this bullet could travel through simulation of a neck, I think it was.
Yep.
And pass out through the neck, and also travel in a different way after it's done traveled through that ballistics gel, or the neck, if you will, and have momentum enough to travel through another body, causing damage. And that kind of put us where maybe it put us in a realm of where the shooter was.
Well,
as well as maybe even after that. You see that shot happen, what does he do? Grabs his neck, leans forward. Another shot happens after that, where...
Well, that throws out the magic bullet theory, because they said that's the single bullet theory, that he was only shot one time. And, I mean, with the...
But that was all we knew for the longest time.
Yeah, they didn't release any video of it, but the Zapruder film? Zapruder film, that's what it is. It showed the actual shot of Kennedy grabbing his neck, leaning forward, and then being shot a second time.
Yeah.
Where his face kind of peels back a little bit, and he goes back into the left, and it from the trajectory and everything, it insinuates that he was shot from the front, which that makes me believe there was two shooters.
Yeah, I agree.
So the speculation
And,
on the two shooters is...
I'm sorry, I just wanted to get back to the topic that you discussed about that particular caliber rifle and the velocity that it had in order to enter one body, exit that body, enter another body. But to me, that doesn't tell the whole story, because as a through and through shot, I could potentially maybe see that happening. But the magic bullet theory doesn't allow for a through and through shot. The shot entered his body, changed trajectory multiple times before it exited JFK's body and entered Governor Connolly. And then, to me, you know, speaking of the Zapruder film, why was it so long after the fact that film came out in the first place? I feel like I haven't heard an answer to that question. I don't know if you've ever researched that, but the film did not come out immediately. I want to say it was like, yeah, I want to say it was like 1972 or something like that. Over a decade after the assassination happened. Where did that film go?
You know, I think we'll go back to the first conversation again about the bullet traveling through the body.
Actually, I have something about that too.
Yeah, the magic bullet. Watching them test that same gun and that bullets on a test site and traveling through ballistics, I definitely think after seeing it pass through the gel and seeing it come out sideways, you know, and still traveling at a decent speed, it makes me wonder if I think that it would travel through another body, yes, but for it to pass through that and still have that kind of momentum, that's a very, very high-powered rifle. But for it to change and go on through him and change again, no, I don't think so. But this is the funny thing about bullets. You know, they never... they don't travel through things the same way twice.
Right.
You know, and as much as we can try to replicate anything, it will never be the same from there, the wind, angles, all that stuff. Everything's got to be factored in.
Well,
so I'm sorry, is that rifle powerful enough to do that?
Well,
because I don't know a whole lot about that rifle.
Well, then let's talk about the rifle for a minute, actually, because
Going on the power of the rifle, it didn't just go through Kennedy and enter Connolly. It went through Kennedy, it went through the back of his neck, it came out of his throat, or it went to his back. It came out of his throat, it went through Connolly's rib cage, broke one of his ribs, and then broke his wrist, and it ended up in his left or right thigh. One of his thighs. And if you look at the picture of the bullet, it is still 100% intact.
Yeah.
And the one thing I know from shooting guns is the bullets do not stay together.
According to the official story, also the bullet was found on JFK's gurney. They didn't find the bullet immediately. They found it on JFK's gurney.
Well,
how does that happen?
Yeah.
Especially if it was in somebody's leg.
Yeah.
The crazy thing about the gun back then, I actually found was interesting was the price of the gun.
Yeah.
The price of the scope.
It was a $13 gun with a $7 scope.
Isn't that wild? I mean, and that just says that anybody could get that. You know, like they could have got that gun, and it's. You know, and going to move forward anyways, you know, that happens, and, you know, could you imagine actually being in the car beside the president and stuff when that had happened as well? Like, you know, all these conspiracies and stuff going on. Let's talk about, I know you're probably already thinking about it. We can talk about the.
Be smiling while I'm thinking about it either.
we can talk about the first lady.
That's what I was about to talk about.
Yes, and where it goes from there. You know, I'll let you take over from here actually, because I know you know a lot about it, and I found it kind of funny because I had just learned about this fact actually, and kind of surprised me, but.
I saw that one.
I know you moved on from the rifle, but can we talk about the rifle a little bit more?
Hey, we can
okay.
roll on the rifle for as long as you want to go.
So the other thing, and I saw it on Nutty's notes here. And he talked about it in the prologue, that 3 shots in 8.5 seconds with that rifle.
It's bolt action.
That's a bolt action rifle.
We actually had that conversation.
It's a cheap rifle. That rifle is known to be prone to jamming. Mm-hmm. Also, yes, he was a Marine, but he was a marksman, which I don't know a whole lot about military ranks and military, things of that nature. But I do know that marksman is the lowest rank that you can qualify with a rifle, is a marksman.
I believe it's marksman, expert, and then sharpshooter.
He was a marksman, so he was the lowest rank that actually qualified with a rifle in the military, or at least in the Marines. So there have been a lot of different, like I know Jesse Ventura, who, believe what you will about Jesse Ventura, he's definitely got some views that are a little out there on certain things, but he essentially tried to reenact the shots, and there have been a few other TV shows, as well as the government has done it. So the government, their official story is that it can be done. Other people that have tried to reenact this, they've been kind of mixed on it. Some people have been able to get the shots off, but the shots weren't accurate. Some people, they couldn't even get 3 shots off with this rifle in 8.5 seconds. A lot of jamming issues, things of that nature. My personal opinion is could you get 3 shots off accurately in 8.5 seconds with that particular rifle? I think it's possible, in the same sense that it's possible that I can hit the lottery, if that makes sense. I think it would take a lot of luck. I don't think that you could do it repeatedly and have the same results as what we saw, quote unquote, with the assassination. I was just wondering what you guys' thoughts were on that.
Well, my thought to start with is 3 shots in 8.5 seconds with a bolt-action rifle. Now, they did say that the Carcano, even though it was cheaply made and everything, was extremely accurate. But you're firing 3 shots in 8.5 seconds, which means you have to change positions to follow your moving target and shoot and pull back the bolt all within 8.5 seconds to fire 3 shots. I don't see how that's plausible at all. Now, I think that you could fire off 3 shots in 8.5 seconds, but you're not hitting what you're aiming at unless you are on top of your game.
And you still got to be lucky that the gun doesn't jam.
Yeah. And then you go back to the gunshot residue, where Oswald didn't shoot it because there was no gunshot residue on him. He didn't have time to clean up. I believe they caught him coming down the stairs of the book depository. I'm not positive. They might have caught him in the nest.
No, I don't think that's correct.
I'm not positive.
Because he was accused of killing a police officer is why they initially arrested him.
Oh.
Mhm.
I feel like I should have known that.
Well,
That's in the official story.
one of the other things I heard about as well was the umbrella the man was carrying, the umbrella man. They
In
thought,
broad daylight.
yeah. So they thought, and you can elaborate. They thought the umbrella to be a weapon as well. I mean,
using CIA technology, it could have been.
yeah. And what's your thoughts? What do you think?
I don't know a whole lot about the Umbrella Man. I saw what we were researching earlier about it, but I don't think, I mean, he might just be fair-skinned. I don't think he had anything to do with it.
Vampire.
Yeah.
So another point that in a lot of research that I've done, a lot of people didn't bring it up, but I've seen a couple of videos where people talked about it and things of that nature. So in a situation where the president is under duress, being fired at, or being attacked, or anything of that nature, what is the Secret Service's response supposed to be?
Get the president down, speed up the car.
Okay. Did that happen?
No. The,
How long did it take after the initial shot was fired for the CIA to even move?
well, Secret Service.
I'm sorry, that's what I meant. Secret Service.
The, well, I'm not positive about the guy on the back of the car. I know that he jumped in pretty quick. But the driver,
But he was Jackie's guy.
yeah.
His responsibility was Jackie.
I think they immediately knew the president was dead because they got sprayed with him. I don't know if I should say that on YouTube,
But it's still their job
but that's true.
to get there.
Now, the one question that goes along with that is the CIA or the Secret Service drivers. When they heard a shot, their initial reaction is supposed to be, "Get the hell out of here."
Right. And he actually slowed
The
down.
driver slowed down and turned around and looked, and then sped up.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was another shot that could have popped off easily.
Somebody wasn't on top of their game that day.
None of them were on top of the game that day.
Except
It looked sloppy. It
except for
looked like a
Jackie's
lot
guy.
of people were in on it.
Except for Jackie's guy.
He was on top of it.
Yeah.
She just wanted out.
Oh yeah, you could tell for sure.
I don't blame her at all. They stopped using convertibles after that. for the president.
Yeah, we were talking about that. We was actually having a debate earlier about how much security is actually with the president these
Well,
days.
I mean, even back then, you had to look at how much security was with the president.
Even still,
He had
yeah.
a police escort. He was surrounded by Secret Service agents. The car behind his car was this far away from the bumper. Oh, can't see it.
Yeah.
He was surrounded by protection, and it did not matter.
Yeah, and convertible got it. It's bad, right? But it's crazy to think that that might have been the playing factor, right? If it had not been a convertible.
Well, I mean, if it hadn't been.
But if it hadn't,
would've
but
been-
there would the speculations would be
If
different.
it hadn't
too,
have been
so-
a convertible, they would have figured out somewhere else to fire the shot.
Exactly.
I mean, you look at Secret Service these days, like it's ramped up a lot, but I mean, it's human beings are fallible,
Sure.
and we're never going to be perfect.
Yeah.
With the right planning and a little bit of luck, who knows what's possible.
Well, it's just like everything that moves forward, with technology is they come up with a new bulletproof vest and they come out with a new ammo to penetrate.
Yeah.
It's going to constantly keep
Absolutely.
moving in that, and I think we've learned from the mistake, the major one that had happened, and we had talked about, conspiracies or just bad agents and stuff in the field. So I'm thinking that. What do you think there was maybe foul play there as far as that goes? Like if somebody was in, somebody helped along the way. The driver, escorts,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I saw one theory that was kind of out there, but I thought it was interesting. I'm not sure how plausible it was.
Don't say aliens.
I mean, aliens are always possible. I mean, let's not get it twisted. But no, this theory that I saw, this was essentially an individual guy on YouTube that was doing it. It wasn't like a group or anything like that. But he was examining the Zapruder film, and he made excuse me, he made a case that there could have potentially been some type of projectile mechanism built into the seat of the car, and that the driver actually hit the button to fire the shot, and that's why he stopped and he turned around, because he's actually the one that hit the button to initiate that projectile.
Yeah.
I saw a thing about the driver where it was just a version of the video where it looked like when he turned around he had something in his hand, and they said that he possibly shot the president. Now, the video was a lot worse quality than most of them that are out there, so I don't believe it, but it's another theory that's out there that people think is...
Was it a different video other than the Zapruder film?
I'm pretty sure it was the Zapruder film, but it was slowed down.
Okay.
And it was in black and white instead
I
of
got
the
you.
black
Because
and
I was
color.
under the impression that the Zapruder film was the only film out there of assassination.
It is. Most of the time when they showed that part, they never showed the front seat. It was always focused dead on the president. And then if you look at the whole thing, it shows the guy turning around like this, but I highly doubt he had a gun. I mean, he's Secret Service, so he probably did have a gun, but I don't think he shot the president any more than I think that are...
Didn't have a gun in his hand, in other words.
Yeah, I don't... any more than I think that his wife killed him.
Yeah, so let's say that the driver did, and First Lady is there. I mean, unless she was in on it, I mean, what do you think would be the hush-hush protocol for that if she wasn't in on it? I mean,
I don't think she was in on it in the slightest, because she was absolutely distraught, and she did not leave the body until people made her.
Right, which is why I brought up earlier about the thing of her getting married and trying, I don't know what the date was, we'll figure that out, but her marrying another rich man.
But I think
Close to
she had...
And I'm not saying, but
Yeah.
but for somebody to see something like that, I mean, and your husband died,
Mhm.
and that kind of format, I mean, it has got to just light into you somehow. And I don't know what her history is,
Well,
so I don't even want to try to. But the thing is, like, people move on, right? But
Well, and talking about moving on, maybe marrying someone else was her way of coping. You don't know. You don't know her psychological state of mind.
exactly, and it may have been, but I guess I'm more or less speculating things that could have been possible for if she was in on something. If she didn't, if she saw the person that shot him and she's just not if she's not saying, like she's that scared, or
I mean, I think all of that is within the realm of possibility.
Sure.
Absolutely.
But then you have to look at all the other Kennedys that have mysteriously shown up. And I don't feel like that's a coincidence at all either.
Well, that's
'Cause,
all,
I mean-
all everybody else that follows that thing too, like brake lines being cut, mysterious vehicle exits, all that kind of stuff. You know, I mean,
How deep down the rabbit hole are we going with this video? Because there's a lot of speculation about that too.
well, I mean, we can dig in as far as you want to get.
I have multiple rabbit holes.
Well, I'll leave
Proceed.
that. I'll leave that to y'all if you feel like it.
No, go ahead.
the thing.
You're talking about what you want to talk about.
I brought that up because I have heard something about it, and it blows your mind when you think about something like that. Anyways, all these people dying that was in this thing and tied to it and things like that. You know, it's like,
Well, I mean, that's still happening today.
Sure.
Anytime somebody finds out something they're not supposed to know, they wind up dead in mysterious circumstances, or they commit suicide by shooting themselves in the head 3 times. So I mean,
Shoot themselves in the head 3 times.
it's just. I believe they call it being in Arkansas now. That's the term for it.
that's tough.
Yeah, I basically don't trust anything the government says. I don't think people should have in 1963 either. I'm pretty sure that the people in control have been in control for however long the government's existed. Probably before then.
What are we talking about here? Illuminati, shadow government.
I mean, you call them whatever you want. The Illuminati, the cabal, the deep state. It's all elitists, basically. Elitists that think regular people are below them, and that if we don't stand up, we deserve to be enslaved. So there's just lots of sketchy stuff going on recently. There's been sketchy stuff going on for years, decades.
So what's your rabbit hole theory? There?
Well, it's not my theory. It's a theory that I stumbled across, and I'm not. It's not something I necessarily believe in. I'm just throwing it out there for the purpose of this is a conspiracy video, right?
Correct.
So one of the theories is that the Kennedy family is essentially the head of the shadow government, and when the actual head of the shadow government dies, that they have to replace him with the next person in line.
Right.
And that person in 1968 was JFK, who happened to be president. All right, so the president can't just up and disappear, right? Like, there's got to be a reason behind it. So the reason behind it was he was assassinated. It was a fake assassination. He actually became the head of the shadow government. And since then, all the other Kennedys that have died, JFK Jr., Bobby Kennedy, so on and so forth, they've all died under quote-unquote mysterious circumstances. And the reason being is because they didn't actually die. Because the person who was actually in charge of the shadow government died, and they needed a replacement out of the Kennedy lineage. And that's essentially that theory. I'm sure there's more to it, but that's
So
all I can recall on a whim.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and go into this.
Might as well.
This last. Well, we'll go into this because I was actually going to bring it up, and I know you looked at it. It's. Let's talk about JFK Jr. and what's going on these days and what we think and what we saw.
I'd never heard anything about the shadow government, but when you started talking about it, it makes a whole lot of sense.
Okay.
Not because somebody died and someone had to take over, but because what's going on in our government right now. There's this entire theory based around a dude named QAnon.
Okay.
He's completely anonymous. He posts on 8chan because it's one of the only boards on the internet you can post without getting your information leaked or whatever. And he's definitely got a high up place in the government somehow. He's taking pictures on Air Force One, not of himself. Nobody knows who he is. The speculation on the internet is that Q is JFK Jr.
Okay.
And that because JFK Jr. and Donald Trump were best friends, when JFK Jr. died, they said that he crashed his plane.
Sure.
Him and his wife were in it. The only problem with that is that JFK Jr. never on any circumstances flew without an instructor in his plane and his dog. Neither one of them were in the wreckage. I think it went into the ocean or the river or something.
I believe it was the ocean. Yes.
They said that in 1999 was when he died. So 2000, I think 2001, Hillary Clinton takes the New York Senate seat. And it was a seat that was supposed to go to JFK Jr. Pretty sure that he wasn't big on the politics thing, but I'm pretty positive he was going to go into politics because he's a Kennedy. Now there's this dude named Vincent Fusca who keeps showing up at Trump rallies, at every single Trump rally, not showing up. He's in the VIP section every time. And there's pictures, and we'll show you on the green screen at some point, of his wife in the crowd, and she is Carolyn Kennedy. She's just aged. Like, her nose is the same, her smile is the same. It's
Really?
just an older lady. But, I mean, it is
Yeah,
it is irrefutable that it is her. And there's this dude named Vincent Fusca who's always in the crowd, and he's never right beside her, but he's like, there'll be 2 or 3 people, and he's up this way. And they've matched up his face to JFK Jr.'s, and it's just age.
Okay.
And they said that, well, because him and Trump were friends, that Trump tried to run for president in 2000. And they've been planning this entire thing for 16 years, I think, when the election, to drain the swamp, basically. That was one of Trump's promises with his campaign. And I wasn't a Trump supporter when I started reading all this stuff. Now I am, because he shows that he's smarter than he looks. He's definitely doing stuff to further the progression of America. And the draining the swamp was to get all the corruption out of D.C. Now, I think that goes way further than anybody thought it would, because the 69,000 sealed indictments, that's not conspiracy theory, it's 100% true. They report about it on Fox News. If the mainstream media reports on it, it's probably bullshit. But they
So that is it for our JFK topic, and we definitely would love to see you back for the next one. Like I said, we've got a lot more coming. You're going to see these guys again. I want to thank both of y'all for being on here. Wonderful job. And we're going to end the show with a toast. Go ahead and raise your glasses, guys. There are good ships and there are wood ships. The ships that sail the sea. But the best ships are friendships. And may they always be. There we go. Alright guys, we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.